Order, Clerk Sanders, please take the roll.
Trustee King?
Here.
Trustee Taylor?
Here.
Trustee Jackson? Absent. Clerk Sanders here. Trustee Reese?
Here.
Treasurer Kavanaugh?
Here.
Supervisor McCray?
Here. The quorum is present. The reason for this meeting is to go over the recommended 2027 water and sewer fund budget. So, Director Bonneray, you
Thank
were
you,
at.
Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, everyone. So I did prepare a PowerPoint for this about how we developed this year's rate. So I did we didn't do the process differently, but normally I pass out to you like this gigantic spreadsheet and we go through this. And I thought it might make more sense to look at some of the trend data and think about it more that way through a presentation than looking at just the one-offs year over year. Because you all are aware, of course, that the water and sewer budget at this point in the game is almost as large in and of itself as the entire general fund budget. And that is predominantly due to the fact that, we have this CSO project going on in addition to all the other projects that we have going on. And so the sheer size and scope of what the water and sewer department is trying to handle has grown enormously over the last few years. And we are at that stage right now where we are trying to ensure that we are both looking towards the future and trying to monitor the changes that are coming down the line so that we can navigate that as smoothly as possible, which, of course, the definition of smooth is kind of subjective, right? And our residents may not necessarily feel that way, but when they get their new bills and all that kind of stuff. But that's the way that we're looking at it, right? Just how do we do this over the next few years to be as smooth as possible? And so for this upcoming year, we're estimating that we're going to need to buy, I just realized that they're dollar signs. This shouldn't be dollar signs. That we're looking to buy 1,512,000 units of water, of which we will sell 1,330,000 units of water. And then the difference between those two is what we calculate to be our average water loss. And so water loss happens for lots of reasons. Water loss, especially when you have a 100-year-old system like we do, water just leaks out sometimes, right? And then you have things like water main breaks. We know that we had a record year for water main breaks in this past year with, what did you say, Director Dennis, that's the meeting, 130? 103. Sorry, I flipped a 3 into 0. I hope I'm not jinxing us this next year, right? We flush, sewers. There's people who are situations like if there's a fire and it comes out of the sprinkler system that may or may not always be connected to be tracked in the system. So there's lots of ways that we lose water. The average is, 10 to 12%. This past year in particular, the number was high. Trustee Taylor?
It factored into water loss. Is that like unpaid bills as well? Do we consider that water
No,
loss? Okay,
we do
thank
not.
you. Just for clarification.
Strictly the difference between what GLEWA bills us for versus what we were able to bill customers for.
Okay.
That's just that, whether we collected the money or not.
Got it.
So our water loss this past year was at about 13.6%. It was high. We're unsure right now. I've had a long conversation with former Director Kuba. He's got some ideas. I need to touch base with Director Dennis about it. But long story short, we average around 12. Below that is the various increases that have been passed on to us from the other communities. Treasurer Kavanaugh.
While you're on the subject with Cuba, we had also talked about, which I completely forgot until now that you talk about it, that we need to make sure that we have meters on the fire suppression pipes, because some of them do not.
Correct.
Okay.
That is absolutely true.
Okay.
Right.
So
That
we do
would
need
help
to
with some of our
correct
water
that,
loss
yes.
issues. Right.
Somewhat, yes.
So you can see here, these are the rate increases that have been passed on to us that we then in turn have to pass on to our residents, right? And so when we have situations like this where we're being paid, GLEWA is charging us 6.4% more for this upcoming year on the commodity side. So the commodity would be the usage side. If you use more water, you pay for more, right? Fixed being, that's kind of our, what we call our base fee. We charge the same amount per household regardless of how much water you use. If this is the type of increases we're getting from other communities, even if we were doing nothing different, no new projects, everything was exactly the same, our increases would probably be at least this much. But of course, that's not really our situation. We have all kinds of additional projects that are going on right now. But those are the assumptions that we use to create this year's rate. When we look at water purchased versus water sold over the last 7 years, the blue line being water purchased and the pink line being water sold, you can see it is steadily declining. And it's declining primarily because people just don't use water in the same way that they used to, right? People don't water their lawns as much, things like that, right? And
Pools.
it's pools, and there's many pools, it's just, so this has been ongoing for a while now, but it continues to decline over time, which does impact our contract with GLEWA. So then when we look at some of the things that are going on with our rate right now, so our base fee trend, you can see over the last 5 years here that our base fee has gone up substantially. And the primary reason why the base fee, which is the fixed fee that gets charged to every household, right, is going up is because we've been doing, improvement projects, right? Replacing water mains, replacing sewer mains. Those costs get worked into the fixed fee because that's kind of a steady thing. The meter replacement, not the meter, the MIU replacement project that we're doing right now, the debt service for that was a new thing that had to get worked into the system right now. So that's the main reason why this is going up as rapidly as it is. So our base fee for this upcoming year, we're recommending is going to go from $26.18 to $30.98, which is an 18% increase on the base fee. I do not anticipate that the base fee will increase that rapidly again in future years. The primary reason it's going up by that amount is because we had to work in the new debt service for the MIU replacement program. Trustee Taylor.
Can the base fee come down after the project?
Absolutely,
Okay.
right, absolutely. And the only things that are put into the base fee are things that would be attributable to every household. So if you think about like staffing, right? We need the same amount of staff whether a household uses 10 units of water or 1 unit of water. So staffing is a fixed fee, it goes into the base fee. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how that's the kind of logic we use when we're creating the base fee. When you look at our actual rate increases over time, the blue line is the total rate increase of water, sewer, and CSO. If you notice, sewer in and of itself, which is the green line, is pretty flat. Sewer really has not changed much over the last few years. Sewer is not what's driving our cost increases. We're having sewer go up by 3.95% this year. It actually went down last year. So it's actually just kind of coming back to where it was 2 years ago. It has been very flat over time. The one thing about sewer that I will say is that the Rouge Valley, they are really bad about giving us new rates, and they tend to only do it every 3 or 4 years. And then when they give us a rate increase, they give us an increase of like 20% at one time. So to mitigate that, we assume an average every year. So this year we assumed exactly what GLEWA was charging them, which is 5.8%. So that's an estimate. But the bottom line is the one that you'll notice, which is the CSO. It isn't as dramatic in here because this is on dollar amounts, but it went from being less than $1 5 years ago to being almost $4 per unit of water used. So CSO, which is not surprising, is what is really driving our increases. At this stage in the game, we're going to increase the CSO rate per unit by 26% this year, going from $2.90 to $3.67. For this budget year, we will have approximately $3.7 million worked into the rate related to the CSO. When the full debt payment comes online for the CSO in 2 years, I'm expecting it to be around 5.2 million. So we still have, unfortunately, another 1.5 million to go. Last year we had 3 million worked into the rate. This year we have 3.7. So next year we'll probably have 4.2, and then 4.7, and then 5.2. So I'm trying to make those very average increases as we go. That is by far the most dramatic thing that is changing, and it's all related to that CSO project, as you all know, which has been mandated by the EPA and by EGLE. Gleewa's water increase, their rate increases over time, just as you can see, has kind of been, other than the one, anomaly of last year where there was the massive sewer decrease, the rate increases have been pretty substantial the last several years. And that's really driving the majority. Outside of CSO, almost all of our rate increases are tied to what Gleewa is charging us. So what's the impact based on the recommended new rates to homes? This is an example of what someone with a 5/8" line, which is about half of our homes. The other half of our homes have a 3/4" line, which would be a few dollars more for having the larger line, but you can see the difference in the bill. So most of our households with families and kids, especially in the summer, are probably using around that 10-unit mark. And so their bill would go from $160 to $184 is what I anticipate happening. So things that are in this budget that I think are going to help us in the future. One big thing that it's on the agenda this evening as well for approval, and Director Dennis, I believe, mentioned it in his report a couple weeks ago, is we are investing $165,000 in here for some engineering studies, specifically regarding things like flow and
reliability. We're doing reliability study, asset management, and a hydrant flow.
So the goal here is that, we're spending $165,000 on what may end up being a $30 million project over time. So it's a huge benefit to us to do that now. It will help us better target areas for improvement so we can be more strategic in where we do our next round of improvements. And that really ties into leveraging new technology and tools as well, through the use of things like the sewer cameras and rate studies, and really just looking at where we have problem planning. Director Dennis, I believe, mentioned last meeting about like the 6-inch lines is something we'd like to eliminate, because at this stage they're so old that over half of the line is full of corrosion, right? So it's not flowing 6 inches. We'd like to replace them all. Well, instead of just going out and replacing them, it probably makes more sense to replace them at the same time we're replacing other pipes in the area, so you're not ripping up the ground twice in the same spot, right? Like looking at things that way. The sewer lines in and of themselves, other than repairs, we haven't really done a massive sewer project. We have a 100-year-old system, and that's probably really close to a 300-year project. But so it's not something that's going to get handled in our lifetimes, but it's something we really need to be thinking about, is how do we start to begin that process? And those studies will help us do that. Sewer system's 100 years old, entire system needs replacement. So that just says what I just said. I'm mad at myself, yeah. And then another couple things that we need to be thinking about in the future here that are going to be coming your way, unfortunately. So currently, we have the North CSO Basin that's been in operation for 30 years. And so that basin, for this budget year, we're budgeting $889,000 to operate it. When the Central CSO Basin comes online in a couple of years, we're going to have to pay to operate that basin too. We don't have any money in the budget right now for that. So we think that it will be more efficient than the existing basin because it's 30 years newer, right? But there's still going to be a cost to it. And we won't really know what the cost of operating it is going to be until it's online and we can get some quotes on it. We may be able to even bid out having the same company run both basins, which would probably give us some economies of scale as well. But my point being here is that in addition to having to work an additional 1.5 million into the rate for the CSO debt, we're also going to have to work into the rate over the next 3 or 4 years, the money to operate the basin itself. I know this is not the great, wonderful news you all were hoping for today. And then the other big basin project that is really on hold right now is the South CSO Basin. So now if you think about it, the EPA really came to us at the same time for the North, the Central, and the South saying, you should fix all of these right now. And we were able to, kick the proverbial can down the road 30 years on that Central Basin. I think we have a very strong argument that if they really start pushing us on the South Basin, that we say, no, we can't do that. It's going to bankrupt our community, because the cost projection for that would be another $5 million worked into the rate on top of what we already have worked in there for the Central Basin. It's just not feasible without just completely destroying, our residents. And so we're already seeing what's happening with the rate as it is, and I just can't imagine having to do that. They haven't come to us recently really pushing this issue so much. They remind us,
They give us
but-
a little like, hey, how's it going on the south? Oh, it's good. Yeah, really good. Okay, next.
But I think we'll be very strong, and that will probably mean that we'll need legislative support, but pushing back on, that's an unreasonable ask for the people of this community at this time.
Unless they want to pay for it.
Right. And they have not offered to do that yet.
Yet.
Right. A couple other things that, we're looking at here is that John Kuba has offered, as I told him, one of the things I was looking for is a 5-year pro forma and cash flow study. And so doing some work and really analyzing where we sit today and what our cost estimates are for the rest of the debt and for regular capital projects that come into line, to again look at, is there a way that we can, so that we can smooth these increases out as smoothly as possible. You could choose right now, for example, that no, let's not increase the CSO rate today, let's just leave it flat. But if we do that, the problem is that in 3 years, you're going to do a 70% increase in 1 year. And that's not going to go over very well either. It seems like if we can do, the overall rate increase of water, sewer, and CSO that's being recommended is 10.5%. It's probably going to be 10% for the next couple of years. But I think we can do it that way as 10-10-10 versus 5-5-40. And just smooth it into 10-10-10. And we can use the cash that's coming in the meantime to offset the interest payments on the debt, which will actually work in our favor down the line. I don't have the ability to tell you exactly how much yet, because this project is a little unusual in the CSO Basin in the sense that they didn't give us the $100 million that we have it today. We're doing it as a drawdown. We submit our expenses and they give us the money to pay it. So the debt number is changing based on how the project is going. So there's no way for me to truly say exactly what the debt payment is going to be until the project is actually done. Because it'll depend on what is the final cost of the project, which could change. We know what it was supposed to be, but we also know it's been several months behind. So that's where we're at with the way that we developed this rate this year and looking at what's happening over time. What questions do you have?
I just think that the hope that when we get past the construction and all that the rates are going to drop. The best we can hope for is they don't go up higher, because there has to be money to come to pay for operation. So it's not like, I don't believe we're going to get to one spot and all of a sudden it's going to drop down, we'll be okay. I think there's going to be a cost to operating that facility and other things that go along with this. So the best we can hope for, if there's not any more increase, having to go down would be like a miracle.
Yeah, right. So theoretically it could go down, right? But it may not. It may just be that it remains flat.
Yeah.
Which, from a purchasing power perspective of inflation, would be akin to going down in the sense that, $1 tomorrow was worth less than $1 today. But right, will it actually go down? Probably not.
To the chair.
Treasurer Kavanaugh?
I have more of a comment than question. I think part of it is that in my home, I don't know what situation you may have, but in my home, I make sure that I clean my main drain once a year. You have a lot of kids, a lot of things going on. What I understood, because they asked me if I wanted to put a camera down, I said, sure. It really helps me understand what they are talking about as far as separations to joints, dirt coming through, roots coming through, a lot of the calcium buildup. You actually see all of that. So that helped quite a bit. I don't know who you guys may use for your services, but not that I need a commercial, but Thornton did really well for me. They give you literally the video for it and what have you. So it really helped me understand what they are talking about when they talk about, in a bigger sense, they talk about the sleeves. I know what that is, so I know what to look for and stuff. So that's really informational for when they're talking about the sewer infrastructure. So just an FYI.
Yeah.
To the chair.
Trustee Taylor?
Adam, it appears that this rate increase is going to go into effect this July 1st?
Yes,
So next week.
next week.
Yep.
And the increase is when you project 160 for 10 units to 184, that's every 3 months?
Every 2 months.
Every 2 months is how we bill it. Okay. So that potentially somebody using 10 units is going to look at
$120,
$120 extra
$145 more next year.
a year. And it's just going to be, do we have any kind of, I don't want to say marketing information available to the public when they get that bill and you start to see the, holy cow, to help prevent phone calls to the water department regarding rate increases?
I mean, the only thing that, I don't know about marketing, we do send everybody this every year, which is the rate card that shows you for every unit of water, how it's broken
But
up.
nothing explaining what.
Right, but at least on this, you can see that, like, for example, the debt at this point is, the red is the biggest chunk of the whole thing is debt, which is primarily all CSO.
Well, that's why I didn't know how many people know that the rate increases are not because we're money grubbing hungry. It's because the state is forcing us in this $100 million project that we have to fund. And it's not an option. So I guess kind of a customer education campaign, like, hey, your rates are going to go up, but here's the primary reason they're going up. Our rate increases are going up from our water supplier. This is not because we're, wanting to buy everybody new trucks in the water department, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I just didn't know if we put up any kind of information to help the residents understand their rate increases. Mike, you're over there shaking your head, I saw that.
I don't think if you tell them a rate, they just want to yell at somebody. They will do this, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. You're stealing my money, you're doing this, look what's happening. I think you could tell them the sky is blue and there's $100 and they won't believe you. Because they just want to yell because their rates are going up.
But
Well, that maybe
And they
is
don't
one in every
see the
100,
infrastructure.
but what about the other 99 that maybe have
See, the-
logic and
That's the
common
difference
sense?
between water, is that they don't see the improvements. People are irritated
Yeah.
because their feeling is, I'm paying for something that isn't affecting me, like say someone in South Redford. These outfalls are handling the center part of the township. So my rate's going up because the township was designed with these 6 outfalls for the central part of town, and now I have to pay for it.
Yes.
What a hogwash. And the thing is, you can tell them that to the blue in the face. They just want to yell at one of the 6 ladies sitting in the water department because they want someone's ear. And then it gets to Lily, and it gets to me, and it gets to Pat.
Well, Mike,
Then the board.
Chair?
but I just want to say that, we're doing a lot of things with the CSO. It's on the website, and I don't know why there couldn't be some kind of simplistic explanation about water on the website so that people that are interested and want to know, we can direct them there. And the other ones that want to complain, they won't go there anyhow. you know.
That's-
Yeah, I think
Jennifer
absolutely,
Merrill has
Supervisor,
those.
we could put something like that up there for sure.
Sure.
It says if nothing else
Right.
that, you know, we're required to build, you know, the EPA and EGA are requiring this.
Yeah.
Here's the contact information for them if you'd like to go file a complaint with the
Well,
state.
but I think more
And,
than that, I guess that we need to tell them, you know, the rates are set because of what Lee-Wa's doing and because we have the CSO. And you can put the little chart wheel, but at least they'll have a little explanation, or however somebody smarter than me knows how to put it out there. So people have an opportunity to try to understand it without having to call the water department or everybody else and complain.
Right.
At least we can direct them to the website. Yes.
Just to put this in perspective, it is very difficult. I know what you're trying to do, and I think maybe some kind of explanation is probably good, but what they're going to end up doing is calling the water department. Earlier on, when I was in this position, I tried to put a dinner series together. I wanted people to understand how to pay their taxes, what Wayne County was doing. I was trying to get people to understand their Social Security. I got maybe 5 people. I offered dinner. I offered what I could in the community center. People do not come. They don't ask the questions. And so even putting something, let's say, in the water bill, they won't read it. Like we're changing banks. I'm putting something in the water bill and the taxes in bright orange to make sure that people will look at it, because a lot of people just do this. So it's very difficult to try to educate people when they don't want to really know. They don't even know what a unit of water is. We explain it on the phone, and they still don't get the concept of that's way too much water for me. So it's very difficult to educate, but maybe something
But
simplistic.
that doesn't mean we don't try.
Oh, no, that's why I say something
Okay,
simplistic.
Trustee King.
Mr. Chair, in my experience over some decades with the Detroit Water and Sewage Department and rate increases, I tend to agree with Director Dennis and our treasurer.
Yep. Trustee Reeves?
To the chair,
Yes.
I just have a couple questions on the budget, recommended water budget,
Sure.
just to make sure I understand. So the wage increase for water transmission, page 3, wage and salaries going from 488,000 to 692,000, 41.8% increase. That's part of that preemptive operation set aside? Is that what that is, or am I just misreading it?
No, I included the wrong year. That's 2 years ago, number one, not last year. I really should have put the 25, 26 activity.
Okay.
Because that's through March of 2025. So then 25, 26 would have been through March of 26.
Okay.
And then through March, to March 27. And what often happens, especially 2 years ago, going back to that point, the budget is reflecting full staffing, and we were having major vacancy issues.
Okay.
So I think
So
I don't know why I included, that's just an error on my end, I should have put last year's. I think if you had last year's number
Okay.
versus what's being requested, it'd be much closer.
Okay. Because then the same probably applies on the,
It would apply on the other ones.
Other
I'm
things,
sorry, I don't know why, who knows? Probably just saw 5, 6, 7, and
Yeah, well, that's
there really should have been 6, 6, 7, but anyway, yeah.
and then page 6, central maintenance allocated, so maybe it's going from 5,000 to 31,000.
Because, this is page 6, right?
Yeah.
I gotta make sure.
I think.
Yeah. We looked at that, I don't remember exactly, there was a reason for that, though.
I mean, it's not a crazy number, I'm just, for my education.
It was the
curious
same,
with it.
it was the issue that so that's an allocation that's based on actual usage. So central maintenance allocation is who's central maintenance, which staff is that?
Public Works.
Public Works. So however they actually spend their time gets split out amongst all the departments.
Okay.
And I don't remember exactly why, but we anticipated, it might have been off of what happened this past year, that it was more than it had been in the past, that they were spending more time doing water and sewer than they had been in in the past, right? But it gets split directly. So if they spend 10% of their time in town hall, 10% of it gets billed to town hall.
Okay.
It just gets
Yeah,
split up
yeah.
that way.
So really, we're looking at debt payment, CSO capital, I mean, that, like you said, that's.
Absolutely. The major things, right, that are in there, so, from a debt service perspective now, we have the Phase 13 bonds, which have been in there for many years. We have the Act 99, the meters, that's new. We have the new Phase 14 bonds, which is the drinking water grant that we got from the state. And then we have the CSO Central. And so, first, the Phase 14 and the MIU replacement are both new into this year's budget. And then the CSO Central is increasing as we're ramping that up to being the full amount. If you took those things out, basically the increases across the board would be exactly what was passed on to us
Yeah,
from Cleveland.
Cleveland's rates, okay. Thank you.
So is there any other questions from the board before we close this meeting and move into the next one? Well, thank you, Adam and Jacqueline, and all that worked on this to make sure it was right. If there's no other questions, then this meeting is adjourned.